In this tutorial, we created this simple form that has the complete validation implemented in it. So we have all of these inputs: name, email, password, confirm password. You can type something and it will immediately display all of the error messages. Like it is saying that 3 characters long error and the current length is also visible. If you leave it empty, then it will show the name is required. If email is empty, it will show the email is required. And if you type an invalid email, then it will also show the relevant error message. And for the password and confirm password, that is also working. Currently it is showing 2 error messages that confirm password is required and password do not match. And if you provide the correct password, then error will be gone. And if you make it mismatched, then it will show the relevant error message. And also the submit button is disabled until you make this form valid. So let's do that. Let me make this email valid as well. Now let's fix this password. Now the submit button is enabled. So if you go to the inspect element, hit the console and hit the submit button, you will see that the form was submitted and we extracted the collected data from this form and displayed in the console. That can be used to send to the backend APIs, and this is the code that we are going to build in this video step by step. So if you also want to learn how we did that, then please continue watching and let's learn together. Welcome back to IaaS Tech. In today's tutorial, we are diving into FormGroup in Angular 18. FormGroup is a powerful feature of Angular's Reactive Forms module that allows you to manage and validate multiple form controls as a single unit. Whether you are building a simple contact form or a complex multi-step wizard, understanding FormGroup is essential for creating robust and user-friendly forms in Angular. So let's get started. First of all, you need to create a new Angular 18 project if you did not create it already. And in this case, I already have created my Angular project and this is currently running in the browser. Now let's quickly generate the necessary component. So first of all, I will create a component with name user-form. Okay, the user form has been created. Now open the userform.component.ts. As we are using standalone components in this project, we will be able to add the reactive form module directly in this form in this imports array. So just type reactive forms module. And now the form group is available to use in this component. Now let's create a simple user registration form using form group in our user form component. So first of all, I will create a property user form and I will give it the type form group. Now I will inject a service with the name form builder. So I will give it the name fb is equal to, I will be using the inject function that will easily inject our service. Make sure to import the inject function from this path. Now pass it the service that you want to inject. I want to inject form builder. Now I will create a constructor. Within that constructor, we will create our form group and we will save it in the user form property that we just created. So create this dot user form is equal to this dot fb dot group, and within that group function we will be passing an object, and within that object every property would be the form field that we will be creating in the HTML page or HTML file of this component. So first field would be the name and second would be email, and then we need password. We also need the validation. So first value in this array would be the default value and the second would be the validator. As we need more than one validator, so we need to pass an array instead of single validator. Now within that array, we will be able to pass multiple validators. So first of all, we need to make sure to import this validators class from the Angular/forms. And now we are able to access all of the validation rules. First one that we need is required. Second one would be minimum length of 3. And now we need to add the validations for the email. First one would be the required, second one would be the email, and for the password, it would be same almost, but this time the minimum length should be 6 for the password. You can change it depending on your needs. Now we need another field called confirm password, and here default value would be empty string, and for this field we need only one validation rule that would be required. Okay, after that we need to add another validation so that we could make sure that password and confirm passwords are exactly same. So for that we have to create a custom validator that would be doing that job. So to pass the custom validator, we have to pass a second argument in this group function. So that would also be an object, and within that we will pass a property validator, and within that we will pass our custom validator. Actually it is validator this dot, the v should be small like that. So this dot password match validator. Now we need to create this missing validator, copy the name, and below that I will be defining that. Now this function will be expecting a parameter that would be form group, and now here I need to create a constant with the name password, and we will get the current password form dot get password. So we just want to save the form control in this variable, not the value yet. Now I need to get the form control for the confirm password, and then I will return this boolean value by checking the conditions, like if password is true and confirm password is also there, and password dot value is equal to confirm password dot value. If all of these conditions are true, then we would like to return null. That's mean there is no error, everything is good to go. But if any of these conditions are false, then we will return another object, and within that object we will use any property name. You can use any name, it doesn't matter here. So I will just name it password mismatch with the value of true. Okay, so we are using this property so that we could identify that which kind of error we are getting, so that we could display accordingly in the HTML file. So after that we need to define the onsubmit function that we will be using in the HTML. So this is the onsubmit function. Within that we will check if this dot user form dot valid. If this is valid, then we will submit our data to the API where you want to send the data. For this example I will just console the values of this form like this. So this is how you will be able to get all of the values of this entire form, and in the else condition we will display the message that form is invalid. Okay, now let's break down this code. So first of all, we import form builder, form group, and validators from Angular/forms. In the component class we declare a user form property of type form group. Then we injected the form builder by using the inject function for easier form creation. Then in the constructor we created our form group using the form builders group method. Each form control is defined with an initial value and an array of validators. Then we added custom validator, password match validator, to ensure password and confirm password match. The onSubmit method checks if form is valid before submitting. By the way, we are getting this deprecation error. So to resolve that, here we will add a type like this as form control options. So with that, you will notice that this warning has been removed and it will be working fine. Now let's create the form in the HTML template. So open the HTML file of this component, and here first of all I will add my form, and in this form tag I will add the form group directive, and we will give it the form group that we just created in our component class, that is user form. Okay, now we need to create a div, and within that div I will add a label for name, and text would be the name, and after that we need an input of type text with the ID name, and the form control is name. So this part is important. Make sure that this value matches exactly with the properties of this object, otherwise it will not be mapped with this form group and it will not work. Okay, after that we need to create a div to display all of the errors for this specific input field. So first would be the div, and in this div I will add the if condition, ng if. So we should show this block of errors only if user form dot get name is invalid. So this is the first condition. If name is invalid and user form dot get name is also touched, because if you don't add this, then it will show the error even if you did not touch the input field yet. Okay, by the way, here I am getting this error that the ngIf directive was used in the template, but neither the ngif directive or the common module was imported. So first solution is that you may just go to the user form.component.ts, and in the imports array you can add the common module. That will fix the problem. Or the second approach is that just undo that, and here you can use the new way to use the if condition. I will add if like that is simpler, and pass it within that, and let's move this condition into this if condition and remove this directive. Okay, now everything is still working. So in this way you will not have to add any common module. Okay, once this div is visible, by the way, now we don't need this div anymore because we are using this if block. You can just directly show the errors here. Now I will use the small tag, and within that I will add the first error message, that would be name is required, and after that we need another error message that would be name must be. So let's check the validation rule here. So as we have written there that minimum length should be 3, so we can mention that here, that name must be at least 3 characters long. Okay, now let's add some conditions. So I will wrap this small tag within the if condition again. If user form dot get name errors, here I will use this syntax required. Okay, so here I'm checking that if there is an error on this field with the name required, then we will display this specific error, otherwise we will not. Same kind of condition would be added here as well for this small tag, but this time instead of checking the required, we will use the minimum length. Okay, now let's go back to the browser. Actually we did not add that component in the app.component.html yet, so I'm going to remove everything from there, and we have to add the selector for this component. But before adding the selector, we need to make it available within this component. So for that, in the imports array, I will type the name of the component that we want to use in its HTML. That would be user form component. Okay, after that this component is available, you can just type app user form and save it. Alright, you can see this form is visible, and if you click on it and blur away, you will see that this will immediately show the error message. So by default it doesn't show error message, but if you click anywhere outside of this input field, you will notice that error is visible. But if you don't add the touched condition, then it will show the error from the beginning as well. So that is not what we want in the real application. So normally the error message appears when you start interacting with your form. So that's why it is important to add the touched validation or check here. Alright, now let's proceed and add all of other input fields that we want to add. First is added. This is the second one, that would be email. So let's replace all of the references of the name with the email. Let me fix this one. This should be form control name, and this should be small email with small letters. Same thing here as well. Okay, excellent. So for the email, the validation name would be email here instead of minimum length, because we added the email validator here. Alright, now let's copy paste it for another time, and this time this would be for the password. Okay, by the way, we have to change this error message in this case, as this is about the email format. So we will change this text message error message to email should be valid, and here the second validator for the password is minimum length, and here I will use the error message that password must be at least 6 characters long. Everything else I guess would stay same. Now let's copy paste this piece of code once again for the confirm password, and replace this with the confirm password here, here, and here as well. Okay, so here I will use user form. Actually, let me remove everything from here. Here I will use user form dot errors, and here I will use this syntax, and we will pass the name of the error, password mismatch. Okay, so make sure to use the exactly same name of this error that you returned. So let me actually show you in this user form dot component. Remember, we added this property here, so this has to be matched with this one, otherwise it will not work. Now after that I will add a second condition. First of all, we are checking if there is this property on this error object, and then we will check and user form dot get confirm password dot touch. So we are checking two things. First, if it is touched, and then it will check it is matching with the main password or not. Finally, at the end, I will add the relevant error message that would be passwords do not match, and after that we will add the submit button. So here I added the disable directive, and we are binding this disable directive or attribute with the invalid property of the user form. So if form is invalid, then it will automatically add the disable attribute or directive on it, and with that this button would stay disabled until it is valid. So let's test it. You can see the button is disabled, and if you type something here, let's add fewer number of characters than we require. Currently it is not showing the minimum length error, so we have to check what's wrong there. So to troubleshoot that, I will print all of the errors here. So let's copy this, and here I will add this, and we will use the JSON pipe, but JSON pipe is only available if you add the common module in the imports array of your component. So let's do that here once again, common module. Okay, now we are able to see the entire object in the HTML for this error. So you can see currently the error is required true. Let me type another. So now for the name, we have this object in the errors property. Actually it was not working because I was using the capital L, but this is using the small l. That's why it was not working. So let's fix that. And by the way, there is another interesting thing that we have these properties in this object, so we can make our error message dynamic instead of hard coding this value. So you can just copy that, and here I will use this syntax dot, and in that error we have this property, and within that property we know that there is another object, and within that object we want to access the required length like that. Okay, so I also get this error property minimum length comes from the index signature, so it must be accessed with this method. Okay, so let's wrap this with the square brackets and add the single quotes, and now it's gone. Now it is dynamic. You can see in our error message it is saying that name must be at least 3 characters long. You can also utilize the actual length as well. So here I have specified the current length of our name is this. We used the minimum length property or object, and then we accessed the actual length property on it. Now let's remove this JSON print from this HTML file, and now if you type something, it will now guide the user in proper way. Let me actually wrap it in a div because it is showing in the front of the input. If we use the div, then it will be displayed in a separate line. Now type something, and you can see the error is visible. Name must be at least 3 characters long. Your current input is 1. So you can see it will be guiding the user properly. So same for the email. If you type something, it is saying that email should be valid. Email should be valid. Save it. Okay, now let's type a valid email, and this time it will not complain about the error message, but let me make it invalid again, and this error is displaying once again. And the password, I touched it, but it is not showing the error message. So the reason is same. We have to fix the case sensitivity for this text, that would be small l. Okay, now if you type a password with the length less than 6 characters, then it will immediately display this error message, and let's fix it. Okay, now if you type something here, it is saying that confirm password is required. If you type something, the error is gone, but it is not displaying the mismatch error. So let's see why it is happening. So to troubleshoot that, we will do the same thing that we did earlier. We will just copy this error property and we will display it here. We will use the JSON pipe again, save it. Okay, type something here and here. Okay, password mismatch true. Actually, I would like to display it outside of this if condition because there is something wrong with this if condition. Alright, now let's add our password again, and I typed this password A. Now it is showing that password mismatch true. We are just checking the input field that if confirm password is valid or not. So the confirm password is valid because we added only one validation rule on that field here. you can see. So that's why it is not showing any error under the confirm password field, but this specific error is showing on the global level of the error object. So we have to take care of this error in this if condition. So just copy that here. I will wrap it in the parentheses to add multiple or conditions. So I'm checking if this is invalid or if there are errors, and I will use this property on it. I will use question mark here like that, because if it is not available in that object, then it will not complain. Okay, now I'm checking if this is invalid or if there is a property password mismatch on the error object with a true value, then we will consider there is an error. Okay, we made a mistake in the spelling here. This is with double S, that's why it was not working. Or actually correct spellings are with a single S. So let me fix it everywhere else. Search for it globally and we will fix it everywhere. Okay, all right, now this should work. Let me remove this JSON pipe from here, and now let's try it once. Okay, now you will see the password do not match error. But if you don't type anything, then it will say the message that confirm password is required and passwords do not match. Okay, in that case, I will add a BR tag here so that both of errors could show in separate lines. And let me wrap everything in the div tag. Okay, so let's try it again. All right, we can see both of the errors are visible, but submit button is still disabled. We need to test that as well. So let's make our form valid. Add a valid email, and as soon as all of the fields would be valid, the button should be enabled. So let's try that. I'm going to copy paste this. Now you can see that the button is now enabled. So in the inspect element, go to the console and hit the submit button. I don't see anything, so I think there's something wrong. Actually, we did not register our submit event on this form yet, so let's do that. Submit and call the onsubmit function. Now let's fill that form again, add a password, hit the submit, and you can see that the form was submitted. And as this was a valid form, valid data, that's why this specific text was printed in the console log with this object that contains all of the values. Now you can consume this object and pass it to your APIs in the backend and do whatever you want to do. But if something was wrong, normally this condition would never be executed because we have made our button disabled. So you can just remove this else block as well, because this form would never be submitted because our button is disabled. Okay, all right, we can further improve the form submission here. So instead of just showing it, I can call another function, this dot use form dot reset, because as soon as form is submitted, the form should be reset. So let's do that again. All right, you can see that form was reset and we received the data in the console. All right, in this tutorial we have covered how to use FormGroup in Angular 18 to create a robust user registration form. We learned how to set up a project with Reactive Forms module, create a form group with multiple form controls, add validators including custom validators, bind form group to a template, display validation messages, and handle form submission. Form group is a powerful tool for managing complex forms in Angular. It provides a structured way to handle form data, validation, and submission, making it easier to create user-friendly and error-resistant forms. For further learning, try expanding this form with more complex validation rules or explore other features of Angular's reactive forms like form array for dynamic form fields. I also have recorded several videos about the Angular forms on my channel. You can also go there and search for it. You will find several useful videos that can help you to grow your knowledge in Angular forms. If you think that this video provided some value, then please don't forget to like and share this video, and also please hit that subscribe button and click on the bell icon to get notifications for my upcoming videos. If you have any questions or feedback or suggestions, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I would do my best to reply them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching and see you in the next tutorial.